You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. Are You Ready is an NP Media Group production and is the official broadcast of the Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio. The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast are those of the host and not that of the station, advertisers, or its affiliates. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You never know when an emergency is going to happen. Disaster can strike at any time. Whether stuck on the road, riding out a power outage, escaping a natural disaster, or surviving a doomsday apocalypse, what would you do? No matter the scale, whether 1 hour or 1 year, will you survive? You're about to hear what it takes to be prepared. Now ask yourself, are you ready? Have you ever heard the term prepper? What comes to mind? Some of you may think it's a crazy guy with a bomb shelter and an old army truck parked on the front lawn. Well, prepper simply is a person who is ready for almost any emergency, small or large. It's no different than on a rainy day taking an umbrella with you when you leave your home or putting a coat on when it's cold outside. So maybe you think you're prepared for a brief time in that environment. But what if a few minutes turn into a day or even a year? I'm your host, Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, and I'm going to use my over 25 years of prepping and survival experience and knowledge in this program to help you and your family prepare to handle almost anything from a small event from a doomsday apocalypse. So get ready, because I'm prepared to enlighten you to seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? And I want to hear anything you have to say about the subject, whatever you may have to offer. You see, it's important that we share our knowledge with each other, learn from each other, and help each other out. You see, the more prepared those around us are, the better your chances of survival will be when a disaster happens. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard the term zombies. Well, those are just those that are not prepared and come after whatever you have. Well, the call-in number is 513-815-6336 if you want to be a part of the show. Again, that's 513-815-6336. Also, check out our live chat room on Spreaker. That's Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Just go to the Are You Ready show, search it right there in the search bar. You can get there live through the website, nickpiercemedia.com. I post exclusive content on the home of Are You Ready on Facebook and on Instagram. Just go to Are You Ready Radio. You can interact with other members of the prepping community before, during, and after our broadcast. So share your knowledge. And again, if you want to call, the call-in number is 513-815-6336. So this week is part 2 of our road trip planning episode. If you are catching this episode for the first time, or first time listening, you may want to go back and listen to last week's episode. That was from June 15th, 2022. And this week's episode, for the 22nd of June, is going to be part 2 of prepping for your road trip. And last week we were discussing, I had to break it up into 2 episodes. There was so much information to share with you that we just ran out of time. But last week, I want to just go back. A brief recap is pretty much, the goal of your road trip journey, setting up your goal, planning your road trip according to your goal, any potential routes, what weather to anticipate, any surprises that may come up along the way when it comes to security, safety, and all that. Different resources that you have along your route, whether it's family, friends, and of course other facilities such as, gas and fire, EMS, medical needs and all that. Knowing all those ahead of time, certain resources that you can use to find out certain things you may need along your route. And what I would say is supporting resources. Specific route planning, determining the number of vehicles, deciding upon what phases of movement you're going to have, and all that was covered, as well as detailed maps and different recon, and the routing of your plan, different checkpoints, safe havens along the way, creating your maps, vehicle plan, who's and what, loading, staging, departing, all that. was all covered. So if you missed any of that last week, you definitely want to tune in. Go back and listen to that after this, and then it'll all make sense to you why we're just kind of starting in the middle. We also discussed lodging, where you're staying, your sleeping plans, security, different attractions, different problems that may arise, splitting up, specialty tasks that each person in their party may have, navigation, designated drivers, vehicle leaders, security, and all that. So here we are. The next thing that I want to get into, because I know that time is very limited, and it seems like there's still more information when it comes to planning a road trip that I want to share with you. The next thing to consider is like your communications plan.
Find Are You Ready on Facebook and
provide
Instagram
everyone on the
at
trip
Are You Ready
with
Radio.
physical and hard
You
copy
can also
contact
visit our
lists they
home
keep
on the
with
web.
them.
Just go to nickpiercemedia.com
This is
and click
pretty
on the
much,
program's link.
You can enter it into their
If
phones,
you missed the
they
live
have it on
show,
their phone.
you can listen
But
to the
there's also
show's
physical
archives on
hard copy.
iTunes, iHeartRadio,
Your contacts may
Spotify,
be in
Google
your phone,
Podcasts,
you know,
Castbox,
with you,
Deezer, and many more,
your numbers
including
and all
our
that
home
in your phone.
on
That's great.
Spreaker.
What if you lose your phone? And the contact list should include everyone else who's on the trip, as well as
When a
other
disaster
critical
happens, are you ready?
trip-related
Do you have the
contacts.
supplies you
Okay?
need to keep you and your family
So,
safe and
the phone
survive?
numbers
The
for
Zombie Outpost
the
store in
certain
Wilmington,
attractions
Ohio,
you're gonna see,
at Caesar Creek
the
Flea
hotels
Market,
that you may be
stocks
staying
quality
at,
gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or
rental car
even a
company,
camping trip.
everybody should have that.
Visit
You wanna
zombieoutpoststore.com
make
for
sure you provide
location and
everybody with
hours.
a contact
Check out
list.
our assortment
Say,
of
make sure
essentials
that
you need
everyone
when the next
can get in
disaster
touch
happens. Go to
with everyone else
zombieoutpoststore.com.
should the need
Get
arise.
10% off at checkout when you mention
Another part
Are
of
You
your
Ready
communication
Radio.
plan should also
Be
include
ready
who will call
and
who
be prepared.
and when. So who's responsible for calling 911? You don't
If you
want
like what
to
you are listening
have
to, we
everyone trying to
appreciate your
contact
support. A small
say 911
contribution from
simultaneously.
you, the listeners,
So have a
can
call
continue to
tree
help
ready to
bring
go.
you such content
It's
to
just
help keep
this
things
is the
going.
person who's in charge
Even if it's
of
just $1
calling
a month.
911 in the emergency.
Keep
If
in mind,
they are
though,
not
in the
available,
spirit of
something happened to
prepping,
them,
we
then it's
believe in
this person,
redundancy,
it's
so
that,
it's better to
this
have
person,
more
it's
than
that
one,
person.
but every little bit helps
Now,
pay
of
the
course,
bills.
if you're
Go to
split up somewhere
nickpiercemedia.com
and
and
an
click
emergency
on the Support the
happens,
Show link.
maybe you're
You
in
can
one
make a
attraction
one-time or
somewhere,
monthly
you know,
contribution
say
in any
your
dollar amount.
place has multiple theme parks.
And again,
And
thank
maybe
you for
one
your
person
support
is in one
and
park
listening.
with a group, and another group's in another park doing something else.
You are listening
Obviously,
to Are You
then,
Ready Radio with
you
Nick
know,
Pierce, the
person
Barefoot
who
Prepper.
is, kind of head of the group for that people. They're the ones that are in charge of designating based on coming over there. You don't want to if someone gets split up for, we'll say, 5 people trying to call the same person, or 5 or 10 people calling 911 at the same time. So you want to make sure that you designate who's in charge of contacting who, and you just really avoid duplicating a lot of efforts, and will offer more effective use of everyone's skill and power, whatever, when needed. Electronic tracking through items. I know that Apple has them. The cell phone companies all have them. There's that family tracker. There's a bunch of different things. And all that there's a lot of similar devices and all that, and apps you can get for your phones. It's not a bad thing to consider for your trip. Okay? You can put GPS trackers on children, parents, cars, luggage, etc. But allowing you to instantly locate, we'll say, a member of your party if they're lost, or if you misplace critical items. You can typically, these apps, you can narrow it down to the exact point where they are, and within seconds. Okay. Now, of course, you're out there saying, I don't like everything being tracked. Well, again, you're loading this app just for the purposes of your road trip, not necessarily to use in everyday life. They're not safe to use in everyday life. I mean, anybody can go online and find out who's where they are, what they're doing, how long they've been there, and all that. So, for the most part, keep your GPS off and only install the app for the purpose of your road trip. And then when you get close to home or whatever on your way back, delete it, undo it, get rid of it, uninstall it, turn the GPS off and all that. Keep in mind, though, that when you're using GPS, it runs your battery down a lot faster than when it's off. So just keep that in mind as well. Let's see. You also want to have, as part of your communication plan, a designated contact person. So when you're traveling with a big group, designate 1 or 2 people to handle the check-ins at the hotel, ticket buying for amusement parks, and all that other stuff. It'll be very helpful, and this way you avoid a lot of chaos that can happen with a large group. So you don't want 10 people lined up getting tickets. If one person is in charge of going to the ticket window, you keep the line uncluttered, and you kind of streamline the whole process too. It's silly for one person to get the wrong thing, and this person, you don't want a bunch of people at the, we'll say, desk of a hotel somewhere, or in the lobby, cluttering it up. Groups of large people also get loud, so you're trying to hear certain things that maybe they're saying, certain instructions and all that. So keep one person in charge of all that. The other advantage to having, we'll say, one contact person that's in charge of the check-ins and buying tickets and maybe ordering meals, at the window, whatever it is, whatever you're doing. By selecting someone to take care of your group, designating them to interact with others, that means that the remainder of your party will be all set to keep an eye on the kids, making sure vehicles are safe and secure, keeping track of luggage and all that. So you don't want to just have a bunch of people all focused on one task that one person can do, because then you're letting your guard down, or there's a chance that someone may get lost. One of the kids, may wander off. Luggage could be lost. Someone could pick up your luggage, and walk away with it. You don't know. So one person that's in charge of, we'll say, the ticket buying, checking in at hotels. If maybe you go to like a travel plaza and they have different places to order food at the window and pick up. If one person goes there to place the order, and one or two, maybe they need help depending on how large your group is to help carry food back to tables, but then your party can then get seated at the tables, make sure everybody's together, and that person's up at the window ordering the burgers and fries for everybody, we'll say. And there's other things that other people can do besides crowd around one cashier taking orders when, making things very complex, complicated, difficult, and, they're not taking 10 orders at the same time. They're taking all 10 of your orders. Big difference. Another thing, briefings, briefbacks, questions. With your road trip, and your planning is pretty much ready. You're ready to go. It's time to share it with others. And if you've gone through this entire process, everything from last week all the way to now, you have a lot of detailed information that you need to share. So you want to explain the plan generally versus specifically to start. See, not everyone wants to know all this information, nor needs to know. Who you tell all of the plan or part of it to is dependent on you and them. So be smart about it, responsible, and reasonable, and almost be kind of empathetic when you're briefing your party about the road trip plans. Okay. When you encounter someone that does not want to hear the whole plan, give them a brief overview. Don't bore them with all the details. Hit the high points and give them enough to know the general concept of your pretty much overall plan, travel plan. Some areas to consider focusing on during this briefing should include how to handle medical issues, dealing with breakdowns, how to handle accidents, how to handle becoming separated, okay? Especially the kids. Now, the briefbacks and questions part, okay? Pretty much, those are pretty much the emergency things that you give them the details about, but everything else, general overview. Briefback and questions, okay? Once you've briefed your plan, ask if anybody has any questions. Remember, this is a learning experience for others. It's not the time for anyone to put themselves on the stage and show off all that they know. So, provide the opportunity to ask questions. That's all you want is the questions. Next, with everyone's questions answered, take a few minutes to ask people to explain different parts of the trip and how to do things when they happen.
This will help reinforce the lessons that you taught them and may help make people feel more involved, confident, and capable when it comes to the plan. Okay? It's all a way of making sure that they know and they listen to what you said too. Now, pretty much now you're ready to hit the road. You know everything. You have everything planned and detailed. And really, you got to pack. What to pack for your road trip. You're going to need different types of items. Okay? And really, I mean, I could go through the list of get home gear, bug out gear, travel gear, and all that. But that could then make this a 3-part episode. If you want to know about get home bags and all that, listen to the get home bag episode. If you want to listen to other stuff, packing tips and stuff, depending on what you're doing for the outdoors and survival and camping and all that, listen to some of the other episodes. If you want to hear about bug out bags, listen to the bug out bag episode. I want to focus, I'm going to keep this list kind of concise. And I want to give you the basics for your road trip, like clothing, toiletries, sunscreen, and, some other stuff. Some items that people often don't consider, though, of what to pack for a road trip are individual items are normally the first that people consider when determining what to pack for a road trip beyond the basics. Okay? Personal items like, depending on your person's medical condition, needs, and different wants that you have. Okay? Some things that people normally don't think about is, when you're planning a road trip, everybody thinks it's going to be fun and you're going to have no drama and there could be no crimes that could happen and all that. Well, people overlook certain things. The main important part about this program, things that people overlook and what to prepare for. It's really the point of this whole thing. Depending on where you're going, and depending on what's going on in today's world, that's going to determine what to be prepared for, such as maybe potential violence, riots, a whole bunch of things to consider when it comes to your defense items that you bring. Are you legally, maybe you have a concealed carry for the state that you live in. Where are you going? Can you conceal carry in those states? Different states have different laws when it comes to not just carrying, how to carry, but also transporting firearms and the types of firearms that you can transport. So think of it, you want to make sure this is part of your pre-planning, not just part of the packing phase. It's something that you want to consider when you're going to certain states and different areas of a state. Certain cities may have different restrictions. Knowing what those restrictions are ahead of time so you don't get in trouble. Because maybe you're a law-abiding citizen and, you can do it this way in your state or in your city. But in other cities, that doesn't fly. So even though you don't think you're breaking the law, you may be breaking the law. And that could, in some cities, in some states, that can get you in a lot of trouble. Different states have everything. It can go anywhere from a misdemeanor to a felony, depending on, how you're just carrying your gun holstered and on you. You know what I'm saying? So look into certain things like that. Different states, if you have a concealed carry in one state, other states will honor it. You don't have to have a permit for each state that you go to. That's what's called reciprocity. And so you can go, we'll say, from, at the time, Ohio, when you needed to be, a permitted concealed carry. You had to have a concealed carry license. Now, Ohio became a constitutional state where you do not need a training or a license to carry a gun concealed. Well, my CCW in Ohio is good in, we'll say, Nevada. Okay? I could conceal carry in Nevada. And Nevada, CCW is honored in Ohio, I believe. I know Ohio's honored in Nevada. There's just a recent out-of-state trip far away that I went to, and a couple years ago, so I know this. There's other states. I know Indiana's one of them. I don't know about Michigan, Tennessee is okay with Ohio. I believe Florida is. There's a number of states. But I know for sure, I'll just speak 100% for sure on Nevada. At least maybe 2 years ago, somewhere around there. So now, because Ohio is a constitutional state, if I did not have a CCW, I would not be allowed to conceal carry in Nevada. So even though it's legal in Ohio, the same way it was before it was a constitutional carry state, Nevada honors Ohio's conceal carry license. Doesn't necessarily honor Ohio's conceal carry law. Okay? So if you have a license, you can. If you don't, you cannot. So those are things to look into. For example, a resident of Kentucky, now they can conceal carry in Ohio without a license. Kentucky has been a constitutional carry state, meaning permitless carry. You do not need a license, a permit, or anything like that to carry a concealed firearm. If someone from Kentucky that does not have a concealed carry permit came to Ohio before Ohio became a constitutional state, they could not conceal carry. Okay? Ohio residents, whether you had a concealed carry permit or not, if they went to Kentucky, can conceal carry because it's a constitutional state. Now, I believe that some states also have restrictions where it's residents only. Some states don't have restrictions like that. So, again, when you're thinking about defense items and it comes to firearms, make sure that you're clear on the laws and how you can carry or even transport the firearm for that matter. Well, that music means that it has been a half hour already, and we're coming up to our first break. Brief time out. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio. We'll be right back.
Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra tone is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. All right, and we're back. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Glad we're able to pay some bills there, and let's get back to it. Before the break, we were talking about defense items to pack for your road trip. We're talking about firearms, but other options are things like batons, stun guns, pepper spray, a number of other things. Now, of course, just like firearms, different states and different cities have different laws that regulate the use or being able to be in possession or carry any of those. So you want to check, again, local laws, see what items may be acceptable to use for self-defense and what items may not be acceptable or against the law to use for self-defense or even possess. Things like, we'll say pepper spray may be legal in one city and stun guns are not. In another city, stun guns may be legal and pepper spray is not. Some cities and states, all of it's fine, and some of it, none of it's okay. So just like a firearm, double check what self-defense items you're allowed to have with you and what they consider to be illegal. Because let's face it, the last thing you want is to be in trouble, arrested, or, any kind of issues, especially legal issues, when you're just trying to enjoy your vacation. And also in transporting them. Even if you don't have a firearm, but if you get a gun safe that you can chain or strap, or bolt down to your vehicle, it also keeps items like stun guns and pepper spray out of the reach of children, and it's also doubles as a safe to maybe lock valuables up in. So if you're going to be checking out of a hotel and going to be going to a theme park or something and just want to leave, we'll say, majority of your cash or whatever you may not need, maybe your extra credit cards, just carry the basics for what you need for the day with you. That safe is very handy for not just a firearm, but if you're bringing other self-defense items, especially of children around, and you can also lock up valuables in, we'll say, a travel gun safe that can bolt or chain to your inside of your trunk. So keep that in mind. and kind of not just when it comes to self-defense, but also just your own security, not just maybe out and about, but also for the safety of you while you're sleeping, and also keeping items safe, we'll say in your hotel room or your Airbnb, wherever you're staying. Unlike your home, you don't really have control of the keys and, their access to the living and sleeping areas that you're going to be staying in. So if you're in like a hotel or an Airbnb, you can't really be assured of who does and who does not have access. At a minimum, you can ensure that more people than you and your group have access to your location. Okay? That's a given. Who they are, how many, you don't know. Well, one way of minimizing the risk of not just having, control over the access whenever you're in it, whenever you're staying in there, is through, we'll say, heavy-duty door stops. And when practical, a door stop will, at least at the minimum, delay entry through a door, and that'll hopefully give you enough notice that someone may be trying to enter, and, it'll hopefully prevent unwanted access. But either way, it's a plus for you because, again, you get the advantage. It's more peace of mind, really. And, consider packing a doorstop or two for your road trip. They make things that sometimes prop up under door handles that connect to the floor. They're removable. You don't have to install anything. Even just those, like, rubber wedge door stoppers used on the inside of the door, wedged underneath there, can help at least delay entry. And as far as keeping valuables safe in your room, diversion safes are a great thing. Most hotels, depending on the type of hotel, may have a safe in the room. But again, how many people have also accessed that safe? Is it a key entry? Is it a combination? Is it the same combination each time? Is it a combination that you set each time, that gets reset? You don't really know. And again, access to a safe can be hard, to determine who can access it besides you. They make what's called diversion safes. And one in particular that I saw was like a hanger diversion safe. So you keep your valuables safe and hidden on the road, in your hotel room, and on the road if you just have stuff hanging on one of these things. So they're great not just for a cross-country trip, but maybe if you fly and you travel a lot and you're spending a lot of time in hotels, like if you have important papers, documents, or something like that, you want to keep it even while you're in the room. It's a great way to kind of keep something out of view, but it's not a safe. So, it looks like it's just hanging there with the rest of your belongings. And it's just hidden right in plain sight, really. It's designed to really blend in. If you're hanging clothes on it, it's difficult for thieves to spot. The safe portion of the hanger is also easily accessible. So you can quickly grab your valuables, whatever you have in there. They don't really lock either. There's no lock on them. You can, if you knew it was a safe and there's valuables in it, you could literally pick it up and just carry it out with you. But and they're not that expensive either. They range in price. But the next time you hit the road, look for one of those hanger diversion safes, and it might just save your trip. You never know. So another thing that is overlooked when packing for your road trip. Some folks, they go away on vacation. Maybe it's a week or two at the most. And they typically bring their medication with them. And if they need an aspirin here or there, they can just pick it up along the way. It's a little expensive that way, but they do. If you're taking a long road trip, you want to make sure you have plenty of medication. There are ways to get ahead, if you need. But I would recommend, if it's like prescription anything, is first talk to your doctor and explain that you plan to be on the road for an extended period. Many doctors will consider writing prescriptions for several months out, in some cases, depending on the medication. And that's if there's a need. So maybe you're on a cholesterol medicine or blood pressure medicine or whatever it is. Medicines like that, the doctor will write, pretty far out, the amount of doses that you will need. Don't think that while you're on the road, you're just going to call your doctor and they're going to refill a prescription at the next pharmacy you stop at. You may not know where that pharmacy is yet. So everything sometimes looks good online, but until you really go there, you're like, oh, that's right down the street from our hotel. Oh, that's in a really bad area. So double check, of course, add that to your contact list, locations to know about. And that would be part of your support contacts. Now, some people, when it comes to certain medications, the doctors don't really write prescriptions for an extended time. So, often limited to 30 days. Some medications every 7 days. So, depending on what the medication is, it could be a bit challenging. But if you contact pharmacies ahead of time, and you let your doctor know that you're going to be on the road, they should be able to send those prescriptions to pharmacies along the way if it's something that you cannot get, we'll say, 30 or 60 days. Or, sometimes your road trip may last 90 days. You never know. It depends on how you plan it and what you're doing and how much time you really have. So if your doctor is not able to do that, do some research. There's a lot of forums online where people who live and work overseas discuss how they manage their life on the road when it comes to medication. Some people, I'm going to leave this here. Some people will turn to international options. It can be helpful, but could also be problematic. Okay? You'll see ads online I know Canada was big on them, because a lot of things that were certain scheduled class of medicines here are not there, and a lot of the Asian countries the same way. So, overseas options, you got to be careful with them because of quality, what you're really getting, and the legal side of it as well. So, if you receive a package of medication that may be illegal to import or acquire in the manner you have, you may run into a little bit of a problem with the law and find yourself in a jam, and you're not going on that road trip. But there are other options. We talk about it in some of the other episodes when it comes to your prepper pharmacy and stockpiling medications and, some things that'll help you out for when the fit hits the shan situation. And pharmacies aren't open. What if you need refills and all that? So if you listen to some of those episodes, great. But there's also a benefit to it when it comes to an extended road trip where you may not have access to your doctor. If you let them know you're going to be on the road, sometimes certain medications require a doctor visit to fill. You may end up in that prepper pharmacy episode way of doing it. And it's not about buying it online internationally or anything like that. It is your prescription. You've legally obtained it, and it is to you. And what you're doing is, in the episodes we discussed how being able to maybe miss a dose or take half a dose if it's something that you can. You don't want to miss or take half of something that's going to physically affect you or harm you. But we'll say in the case of maybe you suffer bad muscle spasms and you have a muscle relaxer that you take. That's going to aggravate you on the road. Back pain. If you have back pain, that is going to be a problem. Maybe you don't even want to go on a road trip. You may have tapped out already at the thought of sitting in a car that long or a van or any place. But assuming you do, spread your doses out if it's something that you may not need at that scheduled time. Save it for later. Now, over the course of a few months, you may have a week of medication when it comes to stuff like that. So keep that in mind. There are all different ways to save medication for when you really need it in the event that you're not able to access it, and it could be very helpful. Aside from just the medicine supply of medications, think of group items. Okay, it's important to have a first aid kit. Accidents happen. People can become ill, even on the road. It's always a good idea to prepare each vehicle with a medical kit. Okay, it should include anything you need for minor scrapes, cuts, and abrasions, burns, whatever, like bandages and antiseptic wipes, It's good to also have more serious supplies, such as maybe splints, tourniquets in the case of more severe injuries. So you want to make sure that you have all bases covered there. Add a variety of over-the-counter medications, such as like Benadryl, aspirin, some fever reducer, antidiarrheal medicine, Tums, Pepto, something, just to soothe stomachs, soothe the headaches, and get away, keep minor aches away, and, other types of over-the-counter medication, medical stuff, not even medication, like burn cream, itch cream, calamine lotion, for itchy poison ivy, aloe for sunburn, emergency bug spray and sunblock are always good. But, just being prepared for as much as you can. This way you're able to handle whatever comes your way, or almost everything that comes your way on your next road trip is great when it comes to medical kit. Now, some folks, when they're getting ready for the road trip, they may pack things like their favorite road snacks and drinks and stuff. But people often do not pack long-term emergency food. Okay? If you're stuck on a highway, or recently like in National Park, Yellowstone, when all the flooding happened and tourists were stuck there. They closed the park, they couldn't get out, and they had no way to get food and certain supplies that they need. Well, having your own stored, like canned and dried food on hand, maybe that you keep in the vehicle along with water, that you don't eat, it's just there for an emergency, enough for people, maybe for a couple days. Should you find yourself, like I said, either stuck in a park, natural disaster happens, and you got to kind of shelter in place and, hunker down wherever you are. You want to make sure that you have enough. Or like the snowstorm. There's another example, that blizzard that came through where people were on the highway for almost, 2 days, just stuck there. They didn't have any food or water, no way to stay warm. That's another thing. Do you have some type of, survival gear, in your emergency road kit should you need it? Things like blankets, tarps, something to make shelter with, something to gather and collect water. A number of things like what you normally put in your car kit, which I believe I did an episode on that already. If not, I know I'll definitely do an episode about that when the weather starts changing. It turns into winter, definitely later on this year. I always talk about the car emergency kit. And, don't think that, you need it for luggage, so let's leave the kit at home. You haven't used it in, a couple months or years. So just because you haven't used that emergency kit in maybe years, going on a road trip is not the time to take it out. That's when you want it in there the most. So yeah, having extra food, water, and all that, definitely very helpful. A lot of times folks do overlook that. Same thing with go bags. Even though space may be limited on your road trip, you're going to have a car loaded, maybe more people, If space is tight, consider packing a go bag or two for the whole group. So not just everybody having their own little go bag, survival bag, but maybe just a group bag that has, enough gear that everybody can use. And, of course, people are going to need to bring their own clothes and personal items in backpacks or suitcases, whatever you're packing in. But you want to make sure that you set space aside for not just your luggage and your emergency road kit, but also have a go bag for the group as a whole. Now, with go bags, it's kind of like that diaper bag thing with children and all that. They're going to need their own. But I would definitely put some like extra diapers, formula, and all that in the go bag, just to have for like maybe a 72-hour supply worth on set aside in that emergency bag. If you can only grab one bag and go, that's the one you want. But you are going to have maybe a separate bag for your children when it comes to certain things that they're going to always want with them or carry with them, and based on their special needs as well. Let's see. Again, any clothing that's really up to each individual person. And if really the child's old enough, they should be able to carry their own bag, or at least their backpack anyway. So they can even help carry the group go bag if you need to. Now, as far as that car emergency kit, there's some vehicle items. You want to make sure, and this is something that maybe you don't have in your everyday car kit, that you may want to make sure you have in your vehicle when going on a long road trip. And again, some of this is gear and items that people overlook when going on the road. So that's the point of this whole episode. The obvious ones are making sure that your jumper cables are good and you have a spare tire and it's inflated. But check your jack. If a tire blows, you need to get it changed. And if there's no AAA service where you are, some of these very remote areas, it may take hours for someone even from AAA or some roadside assistance service to get there. So make sure that you have a jack, your tires inflated. And another thing is to make sure to keep your tires inflated properly. Now, you're going to check those periodically at different stops that you make along the route, especially when there's a drastic temperature difference. You want to make sure you check your pressure when it's been really hot, and again, if it gets really cold. You want to make sure that your tires are properly inflated, but in between, you want something that you're able to inflate your tires, whether it's a real strong pump or not. You want to make sure that you can at least maintain proper tire pressure, maybe for stretches, miles in between, where there are places to actually do that, especially if you're traveling through like a lot of back roads throughout the country. You're going long distances, and sometimes in some of these places, there's not a lot of places to stop at all. So even though you may be on a highway, you want to make sure that you have a way to keep air in your tires and keep them inflated right, because it may be hundreds of miles before you get to another stopping point that may be able, like a full service station, that may be able to help if they're open. So really, that's the gist of planning for your road trip. It really starts with planning and proper packing, and once you get that down and you're prepared for almost anything that happens on the road, you're going to have an enjoyable time. Always plan way ahead. And road trips can be a lot of fun, especially if you're the adventurous types, and you want to explore those back roads and go off the beaten path. But be ready for whatever may come your way. Well, I hope that I helped you seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in and the support you give the show. Our guests, the callers, our friends in chat, listeners, clients, customers, everybody at the store, everything. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also find us on the web at nickpiercemedia.com. Click on the program's link. Find us on your favorite podcast platforms and on our home on Spreaker. To contribute to the show, go to Nick Pierce Media and click on the Support the Show link. Are You Ready Radio is the official podcast of Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio, and is an NP Media Group production.